All set?
Yep.
All right. We'll note that we're waiting for another member, David Glick, who's not arrived at this point, but it is after 6, so we'll probably get started. We'll start with a roll call. Marvin?
Present.
As indicated, David is not present. Nolan?
Present.
And I am also present. Nick Cunningham, who is our new member, was excused. And David may still show up as I'm seeing lights go back and forth. So, all right, the first thing is if we can review the agenda. Everybody's had a chance to review that. All those in favor of the agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Right. Then we have approval of the minutes, which would be item number 4. That was for our August 17th meeting. Well, time flies here. It seems like it's hard to believe it was that long ago. And as well as a resolution. Well, you had indicated before we went on the record that there were a couple of changes we noted in the minutes, if you'd like to address that.
The approval of the agenda, they've got my last name spelling with 2 N's in the middle, and it's Twining, Twining. And then approval of minutes, the same thing. And then you go to the last page, and Twining is with a little t instead of a capital T. Just to be on the right side of things.
Okay.
I will make those adjustments.
Thank you.
All right, any other concerns regarding the rest of the? All right, we don't need that. All right. All those in favor of the minutes with those corrections noted indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the August 17th, 2022 meeting minutes pass. Next item would be the resolution that was attached to that. Everybody has had a chance to review that. But just as indicated, kind of verifies what we had agreed to at that.
Yep.
So there are no concerns though. If everybody is in favor of that, can indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes as well. Then we'll move on to our reasons for being here. Not that we don't like getting out here on a nice, warm, sunny Monday night, but we'll start with ZBA 22-06, which is the property located at 2505 Whitehall Road. Essentially, this is a request regarding a fence and dimensional setback for A1 store and lock, as well as the auto repair dealership as well, I believe. That was by, the applicant is Brian Holman. Mr. Holman, are you present?
He's not going to be here tonight. I spoke with him.
Okay, is anybody present on behalf of?
Yes.
Yes, you are?
But not on behalf of him, no, but on behalf of it, yes.
Okay, yeah, if you want to come up to the podium then.
I got, I live.
If we can pause just a moment, if you could just state your name and address for the record.
Robert Tibbles, 903 Agar Road.
Thank you. And then what is your perspective on that?
Well, I guess my perspective is the letter when I got, I don't understand. What is the front of the property line? Because my property, I don't want a 6-foot fence right up on my property. But I'm on the backside of his property. So.
Yeah, the request before us today, as I understand it, and certainly if any of you, is for the portion of fence that will be on Whitehall Road.
That is already on.
It's already up.
Okay, so it's only for that fence.
Yes, the rest of it where there's no request
Okay.
for us.
Okay, we didn't understand that. I saw the map on the back and it goes right against my property.
Right.
I want to see that fence right next to my house.
And it's a good point. My assumption on that was just where the property line was
Okay,
and not the fence itself, because that would still be subject to all the setbacks that would be.
right, so the rest of the property would still be subject. We're just talking about the fence that's already up.
And the fact that there's not.
So we're good. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Wonderful.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll just note for the record, we sort of morphed into public comment on that one because the applicant is not present today. Therefore, I think, any other?
No, we're good.
Okay, thank you. Sounds good, thank you. All right, then let's kind of discuss this amongst ourselves. Obviously, we don't have anybody presenting it,
Right.
but
Right.
I think certainly our own observations, if all of us had a chance to take a look at it,
Yeah.
we kind of say, I don't know, did you say?
I looked at it and like you can see right through it. It's a black fence. It's clean. It's neat. When you understand that the driveway goes, the fence is up here and the driveway's here, that's the only place that he could put it potentially. I'm not really sure how it provides any sense of security. That's the part I don't get.
Right.
is that part.
Because Stephen, as we understand it, this is retroactive approval.
Mhm.
It would be, and I was not aware that it was put up.
And he felt really bad about that. He's really praying that, that it goes smooth, whatnot, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And, I
Yeah.
was wondering how that fence got up there.
And then I'm like, for me personally, I want to know what's the difference between a 4-foot fence and 2 feet higher when it's a see-through fence. Why would it make that big of a difference? I don't,
Yeah, you can do a 4-foot fence
Mhm.
solid,
right.
or you can go higher if you can see through it.
Ah,
So that's
gotcha.
the
Okay.
distinction as I
So that
understand
it's,
it.
okay.
No, it's it has to be 4 feet and chain link if it's in the front yard.
Okay.
It can never be solid,
Correct.
because we've had that request before. And maybe that's why it came to us.
Yeah,
is
that's
to
likely why it came to the ZBA.
request whether it could be solid.
Let me ask a question in terms, the existing fence, is it 6 feet or is it 4?
No, it's,
It's a 6.
I asked him, yeah.
There's also another fence right down the road on Whitehall Road,
Before Agard.
on the corner of Agard and Whitehall.
Mm-hmm,
Same type of fence.
yep. Yeah, but not black. I think it's a
It's
silver
not
one.
black, that's correct, it's round
Yeah.
brown
Yeah.
structure too.
Uh-huh,
So there's
yeah,
some
exactly.
continuity
Mm-hmm,
in the area with fence.
it's already there,
That
right?
fence was likely there for years before the
years.
ordinance.
It looks that way too.
My concern is there are all the new store locks that went in
Mm-hmm.
within half a mile, maybe.
Oh, yeah, oh,
'Cause
yeah.
I'm thinking,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
'cause it's
not
just
more
up
than
down,
that.
just up White Road, right?
And they conformed to the setback, I'm assuming, because all of those fences did look further back.
Yeah, but
And that
those,
never
those
came
were,
before
those
us.
were new buildings put in, so they could conform, but this guy, his buildings have been there for years.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the drive has already been established for years.
And I wish he was here to address that
He's working.
because,
I could call
you know,
him. He's not on my phone yet.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm looking at that and and I can say they want the space and everything else, but I did think it was interesting today when I was there. It was not plowed that tight. There's plenty of room between the fence and the buildings where I feel that fence could easily have gone back another 4 or 5 feet
Okay.
and complied. And that's where I would wish he was here to address that, because I would say, if you needed all that space, I would have expected that all to have been plowed.
Could it have to do with like bigger moving trucks moving in through those spaces and being able to maneuver it?
I guess the question would be, what is the purpose of the fence since it does not indicate any security issue? Because it's just a straight fence on a frontage.
Right.
Does he plan to do some continuation of the fence?
And this request is only for the 200 feet, which I assume
That's
is
right.
probably
Existing.
what's
Existing.
there.
That's what's in place already.
Stephen, do you have any idea of his intention going
I haven't
forward?
heard any indication of adding additional fencing.
So the question would be, if we granted a variance, what would be the implication going forward?
Well, I mean,
You
as
could,
you say, I wish he was here because there's not, I want to hear a compelling reason why it needs to be where it's at.
Yeah.
And why it couldn't have come back 4 foot. And he may have reason, I'm
Want
not,
me to call him real quick? He's still on my phone.
I think either you come here to the meeting.
He needs to be present
Okay.
to represent his interests.
Well, when he's working, no, that makes it hard. Yeah, I get that too. Yeah.
We rarely have no shows. Or that tells me you already put up the fence, you're not too worried about what we're gonna say or do. That's the other interpretation from it. So,
I don't know.
Or do we want to give him another opportunity to come before us
That's what I
What
would like,
is-
that's what I would like to see happen.
with his petition?
Or have somebody here to represent him. I think that would be
I mean,
real smart.
I'm not opposed to that because right now I'm leaning towards denying it for no other reason than nobody's here to tell me why it needs to be there. You know, if we were to work through our factors,
Wow.
I would probably vote no on every single one because there's nobody here to tell me, and it's not clear from the drawing, what makes this unique. We can assume,
Okay,
we can fill in the blanks.
okay.
I don't think we should do that.
Mhm.
Right.
I think the applicant should be in a position to tell us, well,
Let's,
here's why I would like the fence here.
right,
Here's why I'm requesting a variance because of it. You, the board, decide if that's a worthy, that puts us where we need to be, is deciding whether it's appropriate request or not. But I have no, the fence is already up.
yeah, it's already up,
I mean, it's not like it's gonna hurt anything if he waits and tags on to the next meeting.
right.
Yes, that's true. It's already existing.
That's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Give him another
And I
opportunity
don't
and I'll
want-
reach out to him.
And I
A
don't wanna
second
be
time.
negative. I just don't know. And I feel you, the applicant, need to tell us
Right,
why it's important. For all I know, there's a septic. Likely, there's something right here that requires
where
that.
does the city water run through that area?
I think all fair and some
Because I know city
legitimate,
water runs up through Whitehall Road.
yep, and some legitimate answers to that would be, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's why you're unique compared to the store and locks down the way. You're unique compared to the others.
In the name of good faith cooperation, let's hear from the owner.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I don't know if it wasn't stressed to him or her.
Yeah.
The importance of being here or not, but
Well, I know he's working, he's out on Henry Street. He's part of Celebrate Recovery. So he's a good guy. He's a real good guy, yeah.
We just want to hear from
we wouldn't
Yep.
deny it if he was a bad guy either.
I don't know, man. I don't know. People got
We're
bad
just setting up our
intentions.
audience here, so you
People
gotta,
got
first
bad
you gotta
intentions.
go.
I don't know, man.
But like I say, I just don't think there's enough.
Okay,
There's enough here, and I would vote not because I don't feel it's a valid proposal, it very well may be, I just don't have enough information.
Yep.
On that.
Stephen,
the
did
board
you
would
give
prefer
him the four things that we go through when we question whether or not the variance should go through or not?
Yes,
So he has
it's on the application, on the second page of the application.
Pretty,
And he didn't, Stephen, when he gave us that.
indicate,
No, there's nothing.
he gave us an idea where it is.
we share the same issues we're gonna have with our next one too,
Mhm.
It's not our spot to figure out,
Yeah.
Mhm. Right.
we don't have to prove it to you. You need to tell us
Right,
what
right.
makes things different, so.
Sure.
So we can get it right.
You might as well, yeah, sure.
Right. And do we have a motion
I have a
on the
motion.
floor?
I'm going to have this request table for the appearance of the owner to come back
Mhm.
and explain to the board his intent.
Support?
Support, sorry. Taking notes.
All right, my only question on that, Stephen, my Robert's rules of order are fuzzy. If we table, does it make a difference if we table versus adjourn
We would need to postpone until
our next?
the next meeting, or we could set a meeting specifically for this.
And I'd rather not do that.
No, set it for the next
Right.
meeting.
So,
I mean, the
Are you
fence is
comfortable
there, the
amending?
snow was coming, right?
Okay, what are we trying to?
Postpone
from
until
table
the
to
next.
postpone,
Yep,
Yes.
are you
Yep.
comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable.
I am comfortable.
All right.
Support that.
All right,
Yep.
so we have a motion that has been seconded, Marvin, approve?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So that's carries. Yeah, I guess I feel differently too if the fence wasn't. If he's trying to do security and doing the whole thing and we're making him wait for no reason, but it's not gonna hurt to have it addressed, so. All right, Stephen, any questions regarding that one?
So just next meeting,
We'll
so
just,
we'll tag it on the next
we'll
meeting.
just piggyback it on the
Okay.
next one.
And just a point of clarification, I believe I'll have to look in the bylaws, but I'm not sure if Dave or Nick will be able to participate in this one next time, since they weren't here for the public hearing.
Okay.
So I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, and we'll work through that if we,
Sure.
Sure.
I don't think the three of us are on different pages, it's just a matter of
No.
more information to.
Right, right,
Yeah, we're in agreement.
yeah, definitely.
All right, anything further done regarding that one? Okay, then we will move on to our second proposal. This is, well, Creed and Burek are the applicants,
We're the contractors.
contractors,
Paul's the homeowner right here with me.
and then Paul and Lori Gilbert are the homeowners, and this is 4072 Russell Road. All right, the court, or the board will note this was a request for a dimensional variance of 432 square feet. Essentially, there was a garage and storage area that they're now looking at converting into just a garage without the storage area. So, okay, usually what we do is if the applicant or contractor, whichever, whoever wants to kind of walk through, if you would just want to take the podium and explain to us really what you're
Sure,
requesting. We're
yeah.
pretty
Yeah, no
informal
problem.
here.
No
I mean, it
problem.
is helpful that you're here, as
Yeah.
we noted from the earlier one, and
Right.
then we'll have some questions and kind of go from there.
Yeah, so really, you're correct.
If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Sure.
please.
Jim Freed, 1477 Glenwood, Muskegon, Michigan, 49445.
Thank you.
You bet.
And Paul Gilbert is with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming out tonight. I know it's not the best night to be out driving around, but I appreciate you doing that, making it. So what we're trying to do is convert the storage space, as Craig mentioned, in the garage space. And the reason why we want to be able to do that is we're building a barrier-free home. The Gilberts have a member of their family with a disability, walker and wheelchair and things of that nature. So by breaking up that garage with the storage space, it really makes it tight for getting things in there and getting in and out of vehicles. We have 3 vehicles in our family.
Yeah.
So we just want the extra space so it's convenient. I don't know if you've toured the property or not, but there's no steps going from the garage to the house or from the front door to the house or the screen porch. It's all barrier free. And this will just help make it more barrier free, more accommodating for their family. So they are on 27 acres. It's been in their family for a long time. It's going to be a lifetime home for them and probably for their son at some point.
Mhm.
So that's really where we're at, looking for special conditions. Is what we're hoping to get a variance for. Just to make it convenient for them and their family.
All right, Jim, look, I was there today and I think both the other members were
Right.
there recently.
Yeah.
Yep.
So because that was one thing I didn't notice in the request. So I walked into the garage.
Yes, sir.
What space are we really talking about? Because it wasn't clear to me as I walked in.
Yeah.
Not, if the storage area has not been created right now,
It's
or if
not
it was
created.
right in
Can I
front.
approach you a little bit?
There was, oh, absolutely, because there was also that front area I know that's
So
going forward.
when I met with Stephen originally, I did ask Stephen if I could start this project and ask for a variance. We knew we wanted to go for a variance, but we wanted to keep it going, as you mentioned, the last meeting was on August, and we started in July, so we couldn't get on that meeting. Excuse me. So right now, this is the storage area right here. So it's all blocked off separately.
Okay.
So it shrinks down the garage. The way that it's framed, it can always easily accommodate how we have it drawn. But obviously, we haven't put that wall in yet.
I was gonna say that wall is not.
We left it out.
Because I remember walking right to that.
Because we're in hopes of approval. So,
Right.
if we don't get approved, we understand, and we'll just build that wall and put the doors in. Otherwise, we're gonna move forward with 4 doors. Or 3 doors, excuse me, versus the 2 doors.
There's no door on the plan to
Right now,
go
so-
into the garage.
There is not. There can easily be one cut through there, but. So we can put a side garage or a door in there to get to this storage area for sure. And that's not a violation either, from my understanding, with Stephen on that.
So then walk through a second, as you're mentioning, it's a barrier-free
Sure.
issue due to the app.
Yeah.
Kind of walk through what, because it's at the other end of the house.
Right.
You know, how do you see the flow of that? Or
Well,
how would
just
that
getting
be
vehicles
helpful
in here, so
to the family?
If you have vehicles parked close here, and we don't know what vehicle they're gonna be riding in, but let's say there's one that's pulling in this area. This would be really tight to get out with a wheelchair or a walker, something of that nature. So if this wall's not there, that gives them a lot more freedom to use this third stall. If it's in this first stall, it's not nearly as critical, right? But this gentleman also drives, but he can ride in someone else's car too, so we really don't know exactly which spot is coming. So just make it easier, and if they make it easier for him to get around in the garage, if he's out there tinkering around and doing things, it gives you more room to get around. As you know, garages collect things and get things stored in them, they get shelves put on them, so they get tight really fast. So we just think that'd be much better living if this was open and they could access the entire garage. But again, we are aware of this, right? We started with this being open with Stephen originally, so.
And then would the intent be to still do the double doors
We'd
there,
like to
or you're
put
thinking
a
of an
matching overhead
overhead?
door so it matches. Just for continuity, more driving. Let's, maybe put one of these right here and move the door.
Is that-
Yeah, it'd be an overhead door,
Yep.
absolutely.
Is that wide enough for a vehicle to go through?
This is not, no, but this would be, yeah. This is a.
So you're adding,
6'6", so that's 5'6".
so arguably you're adding space, but you're not adding garage parking space due to you're not being able to pull. You could do a motorcycle or something.
Well,
like that.
we would like to put this door there so that you could technically pull a car in so it has balance.
So you're gonna widen it?
It already is widened. I'd have to shrink it to fit this door right now.
Okay,
Right
so-
now, it's framed the same as this first door.
Okay,
They're
so
framed
that
exactly
answers
the
that.
same right now, but this could easily
question.
be, it could be framed in, obviously. We left it open to be flexible at this point, not knowing the outcome of the meeting.
So really just try to change the location of a door
Location of the door and get rid of that dividing
Type of
wall.
on that wall.
Because that dividing wall separates. So from my understanding, Steve would probably clarify, but you guys have 1,000 square foot ordinance for garage space. But you can have storage space if you separate it. So that's how that
That wall.
fourth bay came in there, because then it makes it storage versus garage. Right? So that's the reasoning for that. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yes.
So
Essentially, if you
we're
put a car
looking
in, it's a
We're
garage.
really looking for a variance for a bigger garage is what we're looking for. Just to water it down, that's really what it is, right?
Apples to oranges.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions regarding the?
I don't have any questions. I fully understand the needing to get around when you're disabled.
I understand too.
I get it.
This is for quality of living.
It's
It is
quality of
quality of
living.
living for
It's going to, everything's gonna flow beautifully. I thought, in my mind, I'm thinking you guys are gonna have to build out.
No, it's the foundation should never change.
Okay.
Through the process with Stephen and I, we just had to make,
It's nice.
we had to design it to meet code to start with,
Mhm.
knowing that we're gonna try to get a variance in the process.
Right. I like to listen to that home every time I go past it.
I want to consider us as a builder.
Yes.
Help you out.
Yes. Yeah, he's actually at Teen Challenge right now, Adult Teen Challenge he's got 11 more months to go.
Pardon me?
He's at Adult Teen Challenge right now. He's
Oh,
got
your
11
husband
months-
is?
Yeah, he's got 11 months to pull yet.
Good for him.
When he gets out,
So
Sure, can you just,
Confirm for us that wall is not built.
it is not built, no,
No,
but
it's
that
not.
wall would be attached right to the floor. The concrete floor is poured, and you just leg it right to the floor. It is not built.
it was wide open when I walked in
And to
there.
that extent, there's no
So
structural.
it's not a structural wall, right?
Right.
It's just really a partition wall is what we'd call it.
Mhm.
It has no structural value at all, other than a separation.
So are you asking to put a wall in?
No, I'm asking to
No.
remove the wall.
To not put a
Remove
wall
From the
in.
plans.
Yeah.
From the plans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because then it puts us up
Plans as
to,
approved
it puts us-
require it.
it puts us up to 1,400 square foot versus 1,000.
1430.
Yeah.
All right, I think, Yeah, and that's what threw me off here because the princess submitted to us didn't mark any storage anywhere.
Yes. I think we,
Which was hard just visually to figure out.
I thought we presented both plans,
We probably did.
the original plan, and what our new plan was, I believe.
Yeah, so you look at this one and there was
Yeah, that's the
nothing here.
foundation
That's why I
plan.
kept looking
Yeah.
into here thinking, are they talking about this? But that didn't make any sense to me.
So
So,
it's not showing on that one.
yeah, it's just right here.
Yeah, correct.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, feel free to have a seat. We're probably, we'll kind of shift now from your presentation to some conversation among us.
Okay.
As I say, we try to be somewhat informal, so we may have a few questions for the two of you, and then we'll address those. And there are factors we need to look at regarding improving. And as you know, that was one of the issues with the requests ahead of you,
Sure.
was that nobody was here to address those. I don't think they were addressed in great detail in your application. So we may ask you directly on a few of
That's
these
fine.
and go from there. So, okay, anything else? Sorry, before we get further ahead, from any members before we go on to the factors?
No, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Okay, all right. All right, the first is to consider if we held you to the ordinance, what difficulties would that present to the applicant? You know, what are those issues? I think that's probably one that was addressed, but certainly for us to consider.
Well, I would just say barriers. For someone that needs to be able to have the use of getting in and out of a vehicle, and that wall being right there, I can see where that tight space could be a problem.
See, a 1,000 square foot is a standard 3-stall car garage. And there, if you have one, you know that they're tight when you get in them. You can't open up both car doors at once. They
Right.
hit together, right?
That's
So
right.
then you gotta think about a chair being in the middle of those two cars.
Chair or walker,
It's
you
pretty
bet.
tight.
It's the space, yeah.
Unless you use a 3-car as a 2-car would be one way you could
Right,
help
but
it.
you have 3 cars
So you
and
have cars to put in there. You don't wanna leave them out in the driveway, drive around them.
to the elements, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So,
Great, anything else on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, what, this is one of the ones I would be curious what our applicant feels, is what special conditions or circumstances are peculiar to the actual property or structures, which may be different than other properties or lands. In other words, not the use of that individuals living there,
Mhm.
but what makes it unique? What is unique about that property regarding this construction?
yeah, I don't really know how to even answer that one as far as being unique to that property.
I would call it because it's bigger.
Yeah, we have a higher water table there, that wouldn't really affect.
Higher water table, but it's also being a, new build.
It's a new build, so you're seeing, I have 2 other projects going with bigger than 1,000 square foot garages. One in Fruitland Township, that is 26 by 44. And I have one in the city of North Muskegon that is similar in size, I think it's 48 by 26. So on new construction, you are seeing people requesting more than a 3-stall car garage now.
They're building
Because
bigger.
during the new process, and people are, Americans, we collect more and more. That's why you have all these storage facilities around, right? But we like to get our stuff inside too. So I'm seeing, it's not abnormal to do what
It's
I'm
not.
doing here. It's the township's ordinance is the smallest one that I'm aware of in Muskegon County. And it's also,
Let me rephrase the question.
Sure.
See if this helps or not.
Yeah.
Why was the garage put where it was at? Because it's not on the front of the house.
right.
Right? I don't want you to have to guess what I mean, but you have the
Side
garage
loading garage.
on the side, and why was that?
Mainly because we didn't want to,
You looked at all the plan options, I'm sure you looked at 5,000 and
we
20
didn't
of
want to
them.
have it visible from the road.
Okay,
With a side load, it's more pleasing coming into a house typically if you're not staring right at the garage. So as you pull down a driveway, it's more of an aesthetic appearance than anything. There's 27 acres there, so it could have been put in a straight line. For example, there's no reason, the property did not restrict us from putting it typical with the garage facing the road. That was a choice. Yeah.
So that's what makes it unique.
Mhm.
Well, and I think that leads into, for me, that's gonna lead into our fourth factor a little bit. Okay, the third one, however, I'm sorry, unless there's any other comments or discussion regarding that. The third one is whether, if we didn't approve this, are we denying the owner property rights that may be experienced by other people in similar situations? You know, are we unnecessarily restricting their right to do,
I would say
to do what they would like to
myself.
have?
Well, if you have a person that has some type of physical disability, they get the opportunity to build special structures to their property to enter. Well, this property has some features that can accommodate, but the interior becomes a challenge. So given that circumstances, that's a difficulty for that particular property owner.
Well, it strikes me too, this is a little unique in that we're not talking about whether or not to build that whole section
Right,
or tear it down.
it's already there.
We're talking about
Omitting a wall.
a wall,
Exactly.
which visually,
Yep.
as far as depriving, you know, arguably nobody else is gonna care about that wall.
No one else is ever gonna see it.
But the
No.
people
Exactly,
who are
exactly.
in there, you know, none of us would know
No,
That's the interior.
one way or another going, yeah, I think, I don't know if it'd be different because we might come to a similar conclusion, but we're not talking about adding a whole.
yeah, see, my,
Piece to
my
it or
personal
not.
thought was that they had to build an extra 432 foot more. That was that's what I read it as,
Yep.
you
I
know?
apologize for not being clear on that.
No, that's fine, I'm green.
This is, and this is why we like to have, this is why like, we do site visits and we like to have applicants here.
Right,
So then we can
exactly.
kind of have these conversations.
Like, my son has a walker, so you have to open the doors up all the way.
Yeah.
So he can load,
Oh,
we're trying to
yeah.
get it so he can load his own walker into the vehicle,
I'm well aware of the challenges of the walker
whatever.
of my last few weeks.
So you can relate.
I mean, it's not a wheelchair, but a walker's not for the faint of heart either,
No, it's
trying to
not.
get that. So. All right, then the final one would be whether or not this would or would not be substantial detriments to the other lands, uses, et cetera, contrary to the spirit and purpose of the zoning ordinance.
I would say no.
No.
You know, I think, and this goes back to my question I asked about the garage location. In my opinion, I think the reason why we have garage restrictions like that, because we're trying to avoid a massive garage with a small door on the left of it, that's the main door into the house. And
Right,
that's all you
Right,
got
all
is
garage in
one
the
big
house.
garage and
Yeah.
one small front door and then the house is, I mean, that sort of makes sense why you don't want to have a house or a garage.
Yes.
That to me is probably the spirit. As much as we will ever know what the spirit of some of our
I know,
ordinances
right?
are, let's not get into
Yeah,
that discussion
no.
yet again.
Please don't.
But having it
One day I wanna
tucked,
understand that.
you know, having it tucked behind,
Right,
I feel negates that central concern of, you know, all garage, no house. As
Oh,
you
yeah.
pull into
no, it
it.
actually looks really squared up, I thought, you know, pulling in, I really like the way it's set up, I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Yeah, I was
gorgeous.
kind of pleasantly
That's all.
surprised that you had to go around and
Mhm.
see.
Mhm.
It's really, not that there's a ton of people going by the road looking, but it's about as far away.
True. And also, the owner will make a shift with the facade, the door, and move it over. So aesthetically, it's going to look much
It's gonna
more
look
attractive.
really good, it's gonna look
Much
really
more
nice.
pleasing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that, as I'm looking at our plans as presented, matches.
Yeah, the plans you have the third garage door on it.
Yeah, it does, I saw that, yeah. That looks great.
Because that's one of the issues we have is you're asking for approval, but also a deviation from the plans that were approved.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So we need to be a little careful as we start looking at what we're approving and what we're not. So we don't have to deal with roof lines and all that other stuff, because frankly, that's all
it's all there.
structure that's in place. We're really at the end of the day talking about a wall and a garage door.
Yep.
Versus a storage door.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
any other comments, concerns, or anything else either of you or I feel we should bring up?
Let's see, Stephen, do you see any type of violation that we would be making as we move through this process?
I do not. If it meets the standards, you're well within your authority to grant the variance.
I think we still, as we typically do, our motion would have to be contingent upon all building codes. I mean, that's not an issue, I think, but I see no reason not to say that. I mean, it's not structural, but
We can deal
we're
with
not
it.
doing anything that's gonna violate.
Okay, sound good.
There are no passes from the building code. It's not that I think you've got anything going on here that's an issue. So it would be more of a concern, obviously, if that was structural, but we would
Correct.
have a different conversation, or need to get a different set of plans or something like that, so. Okay, any other comments or thoughts from any committee members?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
All right,
okay.
I'll make a motion.
all right, well, what is your motion?
My motion is to grant the variance to omit that wall and add the garage door to ZBA 22-07 at 47-2 Russell Road.
Subject to all building
Subject
codes
to all building codes
and pursuant to the plan
and
presented
plan presented
to us.
to us. Thank you. Yes,
And I support that motion,
thank you.
yes.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that was seconded. Any comments or questions regarding that motion? If not, Nola, are you in favor?
I'm in favor.
Marvin?
Yes,
And I also vote yes. All right, that motion requesting a dimensional variance passes at that point. All right, thank you very much for coming.
I'm
Yes.
excited for you.
Thank you.
Stephen, thank you for your help too. I know I've called you 100 times, so you'll have to hear from me for a while now. All right?
Thank you.
Like as my counselor, I had to ask a lot of questions, you know, so.
We're just pleased none of us got stuck getting out of there today. It was a little,
Yeah,
it was a little sticky.
Driveway's coming soon.
Yeah. All right, have a good
All
evening.
right, guys, thank you.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, looking through the remainder of the agenda, any other communications? No, from anything? Any old business, new business?
No.
Well, no, I don't believe we have any member of the public left, so I don't think we need to open up that for
No
comment.
public comment.
So if everybody is in favor of adjourning,
Journey.
we shall adjourn. Thank you. All
thank you.
right, Stephen, anything exciting we should know about? No, maybe?
Not sure.
Well, that's fair enough.